never believe that the withdrawal of Niger.
The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taurid Lagbaja, has advised that exclusive reliance on the military may not be advisable. There is a need to address the issues that often create tension within the state and usually degenerate into armed conflict and insurrection.
That this paper seeks to highlight the nature and extent of the military's role in the protection of the nation's security and the peoples of Nigeria, as well as our national interests. And that leads me to the aim of this presentation, which is to examine the role of the military in the protection of Nigeria's national interest and security with a view to espousing some way forward. In order to achieve this aim, I will first do a conceptual clarification. Thereafter, I will discuss the military and Nigeria's national security, then talk about the military and Nigeria's national interests. I will talk on the requirements for military performance in attainment of national security and interest objectives, then discuss the challenges to optimal performance in attainment of national security and interest objectives by the armed forces of Nigeria, and finally espouse the way forward.
At the inauguration of the maiden edition of the Chief of Army Staff's annual lecture series at the Nigerian Army Resource Center, Abuja, the Army Chief lectured on the role of the military in the protection of Nigeria's national interest and security.
A look at the military and Nigeria's national security. The well-organized and trained armed forces of a state, entrusted with the vital duty of national defense and security, are intricately intertwined with the aspirations and objectives of the sovereign entity on the global stage.
The maiden edition of the Chief of Army Staff annual lecture series was chaired by a renowned banker, philanthropist, and a member of the Board of Trustees of the Center. The Army Chief pointed out that the military, as an institution of the state, plays a crucial role in the performance of the state towards its citizens.
People have asked me, that as the Chief of Army Staff, why don't I just organize and configure our subunits in the field like the adversaries that we fight? And I asked them, sir, what do you expect me to do? That we should dress like Boko Haram or conduct operations without any guiding rules or principles? Yes, we try to modify our military steps, doctrine, processes, but that does not mean we degenerate or jump into the gutter like the non-state actors that we are facing. Because we are still subject to so many laws. The war will be over and we will be called to account. Even as the war is ongoing, we are being called to account. So we have to uphold so many laws and principles. Now to challenges to optimal performance in attainment of national security and interest objectives by the armed forces of Nigeria. The armed forces of Nigeria interventions, whether domestic or international, in pursuit of the nation's security and interest, have not been all rosy, nor have the objectives been optimally achieved. There are factors militating against optimal performance by the armed forces of Nigeria and attainment of policy objectives. 5 of these factors will be discussed, starting with poor understanding of security by Nigerians. There is a poor understanding of what security entails by many Nigerians. There is an erroneous belief that security is to be provided and ensured without interruption only and exclusively by the security agencies, particularly now by the armed forces of Nigeria. This has led to apathy on the part of the populace, who feel less concerned except when activities of antisocial elements directly threaten their safety. Furthermore, the meaning and scope of security have changed and expanded from the old regime, or state-centric, to now cover all human undertakings, which requires all citizens to be part of the security architecture. Yes, the citizenry call us to act. They invite us when there's an emergency situation, even when there's no emergency situation. But they are quick to deny us when things go awry, like it happened in Okwama on 14th of March. And people were asking, what were the troops doing in Okwama? But long before that unfortunate incident, the troops had been patrolling the Forcados River. They know the Okwama people very well. They relate. The CO went there, he had their phone number, he called them. So they had a good understanding long before that unfortunate incident.
In his goodwill message, Minister of Defense reassured participants that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is passionate about the development of security in Nigeria.
And the message is well delivered, the challenges are hard, and they will be delivered appropriately. I want to assure you all that President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is passionate about the development of security in our nation, and he will definitely do his best to work on those challenges so mentioned today.
Also, in his goodwill message, Ambassador Bangana Kingibe, who is also a member of the Nigerian Army Resource Center Board of Trustees, thanked the Kwals for the wide-ranging coverage of the lecture.
We got stuck by a definition of, look, we say national interest, but which nation are we talking about? Do we have a nation? People, academics of high repute all over the country, politicians and elder statesmen are all busy talking about the various nationalities of Nigeria. We must have a conference to decide how we are going to now fashion a constitution, on what terms are we going to come together as a nation, we are now in a sort of circular rut when you reduce things to some academic constructs that just don't help. We have certain facts on the ground. We have a space, landmass called Nigeria. We have people living in this landmass. It does not matter whether you're a Kanuri, a Chekiri, a Nupe, or whatever. You live in this landmass called Nigeria. And this landmass is governed by a set of constitution which defines the objectives on which the people living in this landmass are going to be governed. And these are contained in the chapters on directive principles of state policy. In the objectives, policy objectives, foreign and domestic, that are spelled out in the Constitution and so on. So we have those. And there are people living outside of this geographical space in another geographical space. You've moved away from this space, which is our country.
And as remarks the chairman of the Police Service Commission, retired Inspector General of Police Solomon Nerase, lamented lack of funds for the recruitment of officers into the Nigerian police force.
I sympathize with the military. You are deployed, all over the country. This is not supposed to be, the situation. The police force that is supposed to be in charge of internal security is supposed to be able to step into some of the issues where you are dealing with now. And you also mentioned the proposed state police. Yes, policing is local. I have been an advocate of, okay, we can have, local regional police this thing, but what you mentioned is that we have to be careful. The legal framework, and how we go about it, we have to think through them very well so that we don't create another Frankenstein monster. Because in creating state police, it's good to complement. And when most people they talk about state policing, the allusion we usually make, America, the United Kingdom. But we fail to take the historical antecedents of those countries. America already had states before they had the United States of America. So it was easy fusing, their security architecture into, the state police and the federal system.
On a spot, the Director General Voice of Nigeria urged the Nigerian Army and other security agencies to be very deliberate, consistent and intentional in telling their own story and in winning the heart and minds of Nigerians.
And I think that the Army and the other security agencies must be very deliberate in telling their own story and winning the hearts and mind of the citizens. And this will always be achieved when there is continuous engagement, like what happened yesterday and what is happening here, but it should be beyond this hall. And finally, I think that the armed forces is doing very well in deepening its discussion by engaging with the media, but I think they should also see public media organization as their first line charge and as their buffer, where they also engage with the other private sector concern. And this will also be very consistent, they should be deliberate, intentional, and this should also do it understanding that the battle space has changed now.
Earlier, the Director General of the Nigerian Army Resource Center, in his welcome remarks, stressed that the maiden edition of the Chief of Army Staff Annual Lecture Series is meant to look at national issues, reason the stakeholders decided to start with the Chief of Army Staff.
This particular program is meant to look at the national issues, and that's why we're starting with the chairman of the Board of Trustees. Let him look at the roles of the armed forces in national security and national interest. And we are not here to question him because we deliberately draw the program in a way that maybe those on the high table minus me, because I'm the secretary. Maybe if the Honorable Minister wants to raise an observation or something, after then we call it closed. Subsequent one will be open to interactive sessions.
Present at the historic event were the Honorable Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru Abubakar, Ambassador Babangana Kingibe, who is also a member of the Center Board of Trustees, representatives of the service chiefs, representative of Lieutenant General Farouk Yahya retired, former Chief of Army Staff, Chairman Police Service Commission, Solomon Arase, representative of heads of security agencies, Director Generals of various federal agencies, permanent secretaries from Defense and Service Headquarters, senior military officers, both serving and retired, as well as representatives from private sectors, among others. Olayemi Esun for Spy TV.